What if I told you that 6 lessons are quietly deciding the entire shape of your life? Not your job, not your luck, not the people around you. Just 6 lessons repeated every single day. The words you speak, the moods you feel, the money you spend, and the thoughts you allow to stay. Almost 2,000 years ago, a man named Epictetus lived this truth in the most extreme way imaginable. He wasn't born into privilege, he was born into slavery. He had no legal right to his own body, his own schedule, or his own future. And yet, out of that captivity, he built one of the most enduring systems of personal freedom the world has ever produced. His central idea was simple and almost brutal in its honesty. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. The weather isn't up to us. Other people's opinions aren't up to us. But our words, our reactions, our spending, and our thoughts, those belong to us completely, in every circumstance. Most of us today aren't in chains. We can walk where we want, say what we want, spend however we want. And yet so many of us live like prisoners anyway, trapped by words we can't take back, moods that hijack an entire day, spending that keeps us anxious at night, and a mind that won't stop replaying the same worry on a loop. This video is going to walk through 6 areas of self-command that the Stoics considered non-negotiable. Your mouth, your mood, your money, your mind, your time, and your attention. Each one builds on the last, so stick with me from start to finish. And if you're serious about becoming the kind of person who runs their life instead of reacting to it, drop a comment with the one word, discipline. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Your mouth, speaking on purpose. Every word you speak is a small transaction. It either builds trust or spends it. It either adds calm to a room or adds noise. And most people never stop to notice how much of their day is spent talking without thinking. Epictetus taught his students something almost nobody practices today: silence as a discipline. He believed that most conversation is unnecessary, and that a person who has mastered themselves speaks rarely, and only when it truly matters. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that words once released can never be called back. Think about the arguments that got worse because someone couldn't hold their tongue for 5 more seconds. Think about the trust that broke because a secret got repeated, or a joke landed wrong, or a complaint slipped out to the wrong person. None of that was an accident. It was a failure of command over the mouth. The Stoic practice here isn't complicated, but it is uncomfortable. Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now? If the answer to any of those is no, you say nothing. Silence isn't weakness. It's the first proof that you're running your life instead of your mouth running it for you. Lesson 2. Your mood, owning your inner weather. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Most of what ruins your day isn't the event itself. It's the story you tell yourself about the event. Someone doesn't reply to your message. Your mind decides they're upset with you. A driver cuts you off. Your mind decides the whole morning is ruined. None of that is the situation talking. That's your interpretation talking. And interpretation is something you have full control over. Epictetus put it plainly. People are disturbed not by things, but by their opinions about things. The traffic doesn't have an opinion about you. The rude comment doesn't reach inside your chest and grab your mood. You hand it that power every single time, without even noticing you're doing it. This doesn't mean pretending you feel nothing. It means catching the moment between what happens and how you react, and owning that moment instead of surrendering it. A single bad interaction shouldn't get to write the story of your entire day. That's not resilience as a personality trait. That's resilience as a skill, and skills are things you can train. Lesson 3. Your money, turning currency into freedom. Money exposes character faster than almost anything else in life. It's not just currency sitting in an account. It's stored time, stored energy, and the compressed record of every choice you've made about what actually matters to you. Seneca, despite being one of the wealthiest men in Rome, wrote a line that still stings today. It isn't the man with too little who is poor, but the man who always wants more. This wasn't just clever philosophy for him. He actually lived it, regularly practicing short, deliberate periods of simplicity to prove to himself that his peace of mind never truly depended on luxury. Pre-Tao. Here's the blunt version of this lesson. If you cannot control what you spend, you cannot fully control your life. Every purchase either nudges you closer toward freedom or closer toward dependence. There is almost never a truly neutral option. This isn't a call to deprive yourself of every small joy. It's a call to become sharply aware of why you're spending in the first place. When you buy something out of boredom, sadness, or the urge to impress someone who isn't even paying attention, money is quietly controlling you. When you spend in a way that reflects what you value most, you're the one in control. The Stoics had a specific category for things exactly like money. Preferred indifference. Genuinely good to have, genuinely useful in daily life, but never something your sense of worth or happiness should depend on. Here's a practice worth trying with your very next purchase. Before buying anything non-essential, pause and ask yourself honestly, what am I really trying to buy right now? A feeling, a sense of status, a distraction from something uncomfortable. Very often, once you name the real target underneath the purchase, you realize the purchase itself was never going to deliver it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that each morning he reminded himself he was rising to do the work of a human being, meaning his labor was meant to serve something larger than his own comfort. When work becomes an act of service rather than simply a way to generate income, the entire relationship with money quietly transforms. Try keeping a simple 3-column log for 2 weeks: what you bought, the honest reason you bought it, and how you actually felt an hour later. Most people are stunned by the pattern that emerges. The purchases aligned with real values, books, meaningful experiences, tools that help you serve others better, bring lasting satisfaction. The impulsive, status-driven purchases almost always leave behind a quiet residue of regret. Drop this below if it hit home. My money serves my values, not my impulses. Lesson 4. Your mind, becoming the gatekeeper of your thoughts. Your mind works a lot like a garden left unattended. Every thought you allow to stay is a seed you're planting, whether you meant to plant it or not. The only question worth asking constantly is, what harvest am I actually cultivating? Right now, as you're listening, dozens of thoughts are competing for your attention at the same moment. Old regrets, future worries, passing judgments about people you barely know. Most people spend their entire lives as passive spectators of this constant mental traffic, never realizing they were actually allowed to direct it. Epictetus taught that real wealth isn't measured by possessions, but by how few things a person actually needs to feel genuinely at peace. That principle applies to mental clutter just as directly as it applies to material clutter sitting in a garage. The less unnecessary noise you allow into your head, the sharper your focus becomes. You would never let a stranger walk into your home and start rearranging your furniture without asking. And yet most of us let random, uninvited thoughts walk straight into our minds and rearrange our entire emotional state without ever questioning whether they had permission to do that. The Stoics called this ongoing practice prosoge, close, continuous attention. It isn't meditation in the modern relaxed sense. It's closer to standing guard at the entrance of your own mind, deciding in real time which thoughts get let in and which ones get turned away at the door. Try this for the next full week. The next time you catch yourself sliding into a negative thought spiral, stop and ask 2 questions. Is this thought actually helping me or simply hurting me? And is it moving me closer to who I'm trying to become or pulling me further away? If it isn't serving you, consciously choose to replace it with a thought that does. This isn't a call to deny real problems. It's a call to choose a productive framing over a destructive one. Instead of thinking, this is a disaster and there's nothing I can do, try thinking, this is difficult and here is the next useful step I can take. Same situation, completely different mental experience. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, our life becomes whatever our thoughts make of it. He couldn't control the empire's enemies or his own mortality, but he never stopped believing he had full authority over his own mental territory. The Stoics also drew a sharp line between facts and the stories we layer on top of them. "It is raining" is a fact. "This rain has ruined my entire day" is only a story. Learning to separate the two is one of the fastest ways to drain unnecessary suffering out of an ordinary day. Comment if this one resonates. I'm the gatekeeper of my own mind. Lesson 5. Your time. The one thing you can never earn back. Time is the only possession every person receives equally each day, yet it's the one thing most people spend as if it's unlimited. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose status and rebuild it. But once an hour of your life is gone, it belongs to history forever. Seneca wrote that it isn't that we have too little time to live, it's that we waste far too much of it. Think about how often a quick 5-minute scroll turns into an hour. How many mornings disappear because we hit snooze one more time? How many dreams stay dreams because we keep telling ourselves we'll start tomorrow? The Stoics treated time as a sacred resource because they understood something most people forget. Every yes you give to something unimportant is also a no to something meaningful. Every distraction quietly steals attention from the life you're trying to build. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he was waking up to do the work of a human being, not simply to seek comfort or entertainment. Imagine how differently you'd spend today if you truly believed it could never be repeated. Here's a simple Stoic practice. Before starting any task, ask yourself one question: will my future self thank me for spending this hour this way? If the answer is no, pause before continuing. You don't have to fill every minute with productivity, but you should fill it with intention. Rest is valuable when it restores you. Leisure is healthy when it's chosen consciously. The danger isn't relaxation. The danger is unconscious living, allowing your days to disappear without ever deciding how they should be spent. Remember, your life isn't measured in years, it's measured in how you spend your hours. Protect your time, and you're protecting your future self. If this lesson speaks to you, comment below. My time is my life. Lesson 6. Your attention. Guard what controls your life. In today's world, attention has become one of the most valuable currencies on earth. Every app, advertisement, notification, and headline is competing for one thing: your focus. The question is no longer whether something deserves your attention. The question is whether you're willing to give it away. The Stoics understood that where attention goes, character follows. Whatever you repeatedly focus on slowly shapes the person you become. Feed your mind fear every day, and fear becomes familiar. Feed it wisdom, discipline, and purpose, and those qualities begin to grow instead. Imagine your attention as a spotlight on a dark stage. Whatever you shine it on becomes your reality. If your spotlight is always fixed on comparison, gossip, outrage, or endless bad news, your inner world begins to reflect those things. But if you deliberately direct it toward learning, meaningful work, gratitude, and personal growth, your life gradually changes from the inside out. Epictetus taught that we become disturbed not by events themselves, but by the judgments we place upon them. In today's world, many of those judgments are planted by constant digital noise. The more noise you consume, the harder it becomes to hear your own reason. Here's a challenge for the next 7 days. Choose 1 hour every day with no phone, no social media, no unnecessary notifications. Spend that hour reading, writing, exercising, reflecting, or simply sitting quietly with your own thoughts. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. That's because your attention has been trained to chase constant stimulation, but over time, that quiet hour becomes one of the most powerful parts of your day. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The quality of your thoughts depends largely on what you repeatedly allow into your mind. Guard your attention carefully, because it is quietly creating your future every single day. Comment below if you're ready to take back control. My attention is my power. Why these 6 reinforce each other? Here's the part that makes all of this genuinely powerful, and it's the part most people miss entirely. These 6 lessons don't just improve your life individually, they multiply each other, quietly in the background. When you master your mouth, people begin to trust your word, and that trust opens doors. When you master your mood, you become the steady presence others lean on during genuine chaos. When you master your money, you gain the freedom to make decisions based on your actual values instead of fear. And when you master your mind, you start noticing opportunities where other people only see obstacles. Picture someone you've known, maybe an earlier version of yourself, who was overwhelmed on every front at once, snapping at the people they loved, buried under quiet stress about bills, and stuck replaying the same anxious thought at 2 in the morning. Now picture that same person, 6 honest months into consistent practice on just one of these 6 lessons. In almost every case, the other 3 areas begin improving as well, simply because building self-command in one part of life strengthens the exact same mental muscle needed in the others. Tubber. Aristotle put it plainly, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is never a single dramatic act. It's a quiet, repeated habit, practiced on ordinary days when nobody is watching. Each single day of practice doesn't just make that one day slightly better, it makes every future day a little easier than it otherwise would have been. Now, you do not need to master all 6 lessons at once. Attempting all 6 simultaneously is usually exactly what causes people to burn out and quietly give up. Instead, pick whichever pillar feels most urgent to you right now and give it 30 focused days. Let genuine progress in that 2 area naturally spill over into the other 4, the way it almost always does. We began this video with Epictetus, a man who was legally owned by another human being and who still managed to become one of history's clearest teachers of inner freedom. His transformation never came from a change in his outer circumstances. It came entirely from mastering himself inside those circumstances, exactly as they were. You have that same opportunity today, minus the chains. True freedom was never really about having unlimited options in front of you. It's about making the right choice consistently, day after day, in small, ordinary moments that nobody else is watching. Your mouth, your mood, your money, your mind, your time, and attention are not 6 separate categories of your life. They are 4 connected lessons, quietly holding up everything else you're trying to build. This isn't a call to become perfect, it's a call to become intentional. Every time you pause before speaking, that's mouth mastery. Every time you consciously choose your emotional response instead of reacting to it, that's mood mastery. Every dollar you spend on purpose instead of on impulse, that's money mastery. Every thought you consciously redirect, that's mind mastery. That is the entire practice. If this gave you something genuinely useful to think about today, hit that like button, share it with one specific person who needs to hear it, and subscribe if you want more of exactly this kind of thinking. Before you go, drop a comment telling me which of the 4 pillars, mouth, mood, money, or mind, you're personally going to focus on first this month. Your next chapter starts with the very next choice you make, right after this video ends. Start today.